Going in depth here tonight, skyrocketing insurance rates are a top concern in Columbia. And throughout the state, many beloved bars and businesses continue to shut down because of the issue. So right now at the State House, lawmakers are working to find a solution. Government Master even called on lawmakers to take action during his State of the State address. Now at the center of all of this, liquor liability. State law requires most bars and restaurants to carry a $1 million insurance policy. It was put in place years ago to ensure victims of alcohol-related accidents receive proper compensation. But many say now the issue is just out of control. Costs for those policies have skyrocketed because in large part, insurance companies that offer that coverage are leaving the state. So that leaves businesses with limited options. Blind Horse Saloon in Greenville recently shut down after nearly 30 years because the owners couldn't afford the insurance. Lawmakers in both the House and Senate say something must be done.
When you allow a culture that puts a target on the back of every small business owner, then you're going to have skyrocketing rates and dropped coverage where people can't function. And what we have seen happen across the state in all 46 counties is we've mandated, this before I was in the Senate, $1 million minimum policy for a small business. Well, think about it. If you're a small business that runs maybe one burger joint or one bar or one trucking company, for example, you're probably not a target for big law firms because there's not deep enough pockets for them to go after you. But if you mandate a $1 million minimum coverage line, you've basically turned that into a line of credit for every trial lawyer that may want to go after these folks. And let's be clear, not every trial lawyer is made equal, okay? There's a lot of good lawyers out there. That being said, there's people who profiteer off of this and turn it into a sport. And so you may have a small business, a mom and pop running a restaurant or a bar or any other business, and they become a target for litigation just because of the liability limits. We've got to reduce those. We've got to change joint and several liability. We've got to lower these arbitrary minimums that are required for insurance limits to where people aren't just targets for frivolous lawsuits. And if we don't do that, people can go out of business at an even faster rate than we've experienced this far.
And we want to get it out as soon as possible because we do care about small business. And it's not just, you know, the liquor, the bars, it's insurance is going up for everybody, homeowners, all kind of increases in insurance, record increases way ahead of inflation. So we need to get to the bottom of why that's happening.
Going in depth right now on liquor liability is prominent defense attorney here in Greenville, Grant Varner. Grant, a lot of people at home are used to seeing you respond to trials that we are looking at here across the upstate. But right now, we want you to focus on liquor liability. This is an issue you've seen both sides on here. You've represented victims, you've represented small businesses. So I think for people at home, what's the biggest thing they need to know about liquor liability in the state of South Carolina?
Well, at this point, they're all victims. The people that have been involved in car accidents and these small bar and venue owners, they're all victims of the same industry at this point in time, and that's the insurance industry. And so in representing small bars and venues, we have seen over the course of the last several years where you are now required to have liquor liability coverage under the Dram Shop Act, right? And what you're seeing is the insurance industry is saying, okay, we're required to provide this $1 million in coverage. Cost of insuring you just went up. And Lord help you if you have a claim. And what these insurance companies do is they come in and they say, okay, bar or restaurant or venue, whatever you want to call it, we need you to estimate your sales, your liquor sales. Give us your balance between liquor and food. And you estimate it. At the end of the year, they'll come back and say, well, now, wait a minute. You did more in liquor sales than you estimated. You owe us an additional X amount of dollars. And I have personally experienced with one bar that I represented that unfortunately succumbed to this crisis. When they started, when they opened the doors, they had a pretty successful little venue. Their liquor liability was like $14,000, $15,000 a year. The next year, it escalated to the $25,000 range, which was not unheard of with their growth. At the end of that year, the insurance company came back and said, we want to look at your books. You owe us an additional $40,000 because you did approximately, 30 to 40% more in liquor sales than you estimated when we issued the policy a year ago. And unfortunately, they had one Dram Shop claim. Now, it was not a successful claim. The venue was found not liable whatsoever. Their next insurance cycle, the insurance carrier said, we are pulling out of the state of South Carolina. The new carrier looked at it, saw one claim, no payout, and their estimated sales and their new insurance premium for the year was $105, give or take, $1,000.
In a short amount of time, from $15,000 to $105,000.
And we're talking literally just under 4 years to that rate of increase. And I sat down with these business owners and they said, we can't afford it. We don't make that much. Our gross sales won't cover this. We'd be working for free and having to pay in out of our retirement to keep the doors open. It is a crisis, and there's a wonderful group, SC Venue Crisis, that's out there trying to get the rules changed, okay? Now, where did all this start? We also do personal injury cases, and all too often in South Carolina, bear in mind we have a $25,000 across-the-board policy here for minimum, okay? We also have our fair share of uninsured drivers. That's a nationwide issue as well. But all too often what happens, and every personal injury attorney in town has had this happen, somebody comes in, they've got $90,000 to $100,000 of medical bills, and there's a $25,000 policy. And the insurance company writes you a check for $25,000, and the individual injured in the accident is up the creek without a paddle, nowhere to go. So you've either got to have uninsured coverage if you're struck by an uninsured driver, or underinsured coverage if, like our last example, you're hit by someone with only $25,000 in coverage. And so the legislature sought to fill that void, fill the gap, if you would. If they've been out at a bar or something like that, the at-fault driver, it gives you the ability under the dram shop to pursue the bar. That way you don't have these innocent victims suffering financially for arguably the rest of their lives. There's a common enemy here to both our accident victim and our mom and pop venue owners, okay? And bear in mind, your small town bars, restaurants, and venues, that is the backbone of America. It is the American dream. And it's being squished by one entity that, again, it's a common enemy of both innocent victims in accidents and these venue owners. It's the insurance industry.
The insurance company isn't going to change. So what is the solution? I know you're not a lawmaker, but what would be the path forward for South Carolina to find some balance?
It's going to be difficult. From the SC Venue Crisis Group, what I understand they're looking for, and bear in mind, I don't represent them, I have no affiliation with them, but I pay close attention to them. It's a very noble cause. They're looking for the legislature to, not release the dram shop liability or the liquor liability, but to alter it so that the coverage isn't as high. In other words, the limits of liability wouldn't be so high, in hopes of getting cheaper insurance. There's also some hope that the legislature will come in and say, okay, look, we've got to make it so that these insurance carriers can't hold it against a venue if they are not liable whatsoever. As it stands now, an insurance carrier can hold that against you just for having a claim filed.
Whether it's successful or not.
Correct. Whether they succeed and get a payout from the claim or not, it's a ding against these small venues, and it escalates their premiums untold amounts. And it literally, if you pay attention, every couple of weeks we hear about another bar closing, another venue shut down. It is crushing these small businesses. And it's also having a very chilling effect on these accident victims who are saddled with massive medical debt and unable to pay it because these insurance companies are refusing to work with them as well.
So there needs to be a path forward. Hopefully lawmakers are able to find that solution this session. Grant Varner, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anytime.